Here we are at the last day of my series on sermon preparation with Logos Bible Software. And day 5 of the planning for my sermon is really about confrontation and conversation. Let me explain what that means, because it may not be what you're thinking. The goal is to let God's Spirit convict you about what happens next in your own life. And that's really the confrontation side of this. It's not confronting other people. It's not confronting even the congregation or those you're speaking to with the message. It's allowing God to confront you in your own heart and your own mind and bring conviction on you of what comes next. And then you take that confrontation of the Spirit and that personal conviction and you craft that into a conversation with your church family. And you treat that conversation with openness and honesty about what God has taught you and what you believe the application is for everyone hearing you speak. The study portion of this is really pretty straightforward. You've done all the hard work over the previous 4 days, so you want to take all of your previous content, open it up in Logos, and craft a sermon or Bible study, or maybe both, depending on how you structure your church. And the result is really this. You want a sermon outline or a sermon manuscript that's relevant to your church for this week in their lives. Something that they can take home and apply and live out and be transformed by in whatever God has called for them. So very quickly, let's look at the Logos layout, because this is going to be an easy one today. We're going to go here to the menu at the top, and I'm going to open up my layouts and come down here to Homiletics Day 5. And this one is pretty simple. The only thing I have open is my favorite section. And I'm going to go to my Bible studies, New Testament. We're going through Galatians, and we're in chapter 1. And the only two notes I really need to open at this point are my day 2 notes, which has my outline. And then I really need to open my day 3 notes, which those have my key timeless truths and central truth and take-home truth and the answers I'd put together for that. And this is the only part I really review on these days, because at this point I've absorbed all the other information from my commentaries and other resources. I know kind of some key ideas how I want to illustrate that. We did that in the previous day's research. And so now what I need to do is I'm going to take my outline. I'm going to simply copy that. And I'm still used to some old habits, and some people might want to do this within Logos. I'm going to actually use pages. It's just what I've kind of gotten used to over the years. At some point I'll make a transition to do all this within Logos, but just not there yet myself. But I'm going to take those main points, and I am going to shift this over a little bit, and I can kind of still maybe read on the side or switch back to see my take-home truth and what I want to emphasize. I can even open my other documents from the other days and look at how I want to illustrate things. But at this point, paste that in. I'm going to write in and modify this timeless outline into a sermonic outline, so that it's ready for my presentation. I'm going to illustrate it appropriately. And then when I'm done writing this outline, if I have time this week, depends on sometimes what goes on in life, I will do a manuscript. At least I always manuscript my opening and conclusion, but if I have time, I manuscript the whole thing. And then I take all of my new outline and whatever I've been able to manuscript, I'm going to come back to Logos, and I'm going to create a new note file. And this is Homiletics Day 5, Galatians 1. And I'm going to add a note, and I might call this sermonic outline. I'm going to paste that into my new note. And if I have a manuscript that I've created, I'm just going to type in sermon manuscript and put my content in there. And then of course I'd want to take this and save it into my Galatians chapter 1 so I'd have it for the future reference. And now the good part is this content becomes searchable the next time I do a passage guide, and I will be able to recall what I've preached on and what I've talked about and how that last day is put together. And that's really it for the layout on the last day. The most simple, but probably the most important in terms of putting everything together and having Logos organize all of my information for me so that I'm ready and I can do the job I need to do. That's it for the Logos demo on how to use the software for sermon preparation. Hope you've gotten some good stuff out of this, and drop me a line and let me know what you think.